Hello everyone and welcome to a special edition of the Soxcast. I am joined today by two very awesome people from JoyMasher, Danilo Diaz. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, it's Danilo Diaz. Yeah, thanks.
Danilo Diaz. And, oh man, I'm gonna get this one wrong, I guarantee it. Thijs Weiller?
Yeah, it's fine.
Oh, I nailed it!
Yeah.
Nice. So we're here today and we're going to talk about like JoyMasher. We're going to talk about game design in general. Just kind of like, hey, whatever you guys want to shoot the shit about, like I am totally on board with. But I got a bunch of questions here, both from myself, from some people in the community, and just keep it loose. We're not. Trust me, with a name like the Soxcast, we're not professionals here, so you're allowed to swear if you want.
Oh, sure.
So how are you two doing? Like, how's things going over there?
Well, we're just moving to another part of the country, right, Thais?
It's like 800,000
kilometers.
distance.
Yeah.
We were in the top north of Brazil, and now we are in the deep south.
Yeah.
That's a big move.
We're like in Amazon forest.
Yeah, literally in the Amazon forest.
Now we are in the south part of Brazil. So.
Where it's cold and sometimes snow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do winters get especially bad there?
Oh, no, nothing like America.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's not so cold, but...
Yeah, sometimes it hits the 0 Celsius, but that's the most of it.
I envy you so much right now.
Well, move to Brazil.
Yeah.
Sounds like I need to make a move.
With your dollars here, you're going to be like a king.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's see. Let's start things off nice and light. So, it's January. We just got through with 2016, and I was wondering, did the two of you have any games of the year from last year that stuck out?
Like...
We generally don't play games as they come out.
Mm-hmm.
We are like these weird cripples that just play games when we feel like it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like for instance, yesterday I was playing Botanicula.
Oh, that's a good game. Good game.
Yeah, it's a great game, but that's the first time I'm playing it, and it's like from 2013.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we don't play anything in order. Which game from past year did you like?
I think maybe Dark Souls 3, but I couldn't play yet. I was playing Dark Souls 2 Scholar of First Sin.
So this is your game from 2006?
Yeah.
16.
Sorry.
Oh, that's absolutely fine, because the way that we do like our game of the year podcasts and stuff, like we never like my games of the year are almost always like 4 or 5 years old too. So that's perfectly fine. Like I'm with you. Like we're in the same boat there. So also just recently, do you two know about Awesome Games Done Quick?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how do you feel about the speedrunning community? Because I know that Oniken, it had a good deal of speedrunning going on. Like, I think the current world record for that game is 17 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And when Odallus came out, I know that 100% speedrunning that game was a thing. Do either of you actively involve yourself with speedrunning? Do you think you could beat Odallus, or do you think you could beat Oniken in 17 minutes?
Well, I'm sure that I cannot beat Oniken in 17 minutes. It's a hard task. Like I played Oniken a lot because I have to test it and try to search for bugs and stuff like that. But yeah, I cannot do that. I see people doing that, and I'm very impressive. Like, holy shit, you can do that in this game. Whoa. And I coded the game, so it's really creepy.
It's pretty
I'm
awesome.
actually really bad at doing things fast. I always think it's amazing how people play games fast and how amazing they do it.
Hmm.
And I think Danilo is downplaying it in what he does, is that every time he's designing a level, there are a lot of decisions that he does based on the speedrunner community.
Yeah.
Sometimes I tell him things like, oh, you should make, I don't know, like random items. And he said, no, the speedrunning community doesn't like
Random
random
things.
items.
Yeah.
So we are going to not use random items in no place that is important for the flow of the game, for instance.
Also, you could like always find the same items like every time. Yeah, that's a really cool design decision. I know, like something like Axiom Verge has a specific speedrunner mode where they like
Hmm.
they take out the randomization and things. So that kind of stuff's really cool. I kind of think it's really cool when developers kind of cater to speedrunners and stuff. And yeah, that's,
Yeah. Now we're releasing Oniken again for GOG,
hmm
Good Games, and the first thing that like fixed in the game, I made an update to the game. It was to remove all random drops to make
oh,
Oniken extremely speedrun friendly.
like Ninja Gaiden, where like
Yeah, yeah,
you're always going to get the fire wheel where you get the fire
yeah,
wheel, things like
yeah.
that.
That's right. Uh,
I'm glad you mentioned the re-release of Oniken. The Oniken, there's a you did an update of that recently.
Yeah, yeah,
Tell
yeah,
us a bit about that. What all went into the is it Unbreakable Edition?
yeah.
Unstoppable.
Unstoppable edition.
Unstoppable Edition. I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
First thing, I think it was this random drops thing that we removed. We put like fixed drops, except for life. If you're low on health,
Hmm.
every time you destroy a item box, you receive a health drop. But this is like predictable. This will not affect the gameplay. And we done lots of the art assets of Oniken to be more like a NES game and less like a old DOS game because there was certain aspects of Oniken that remember old NES DOS game and not so much a NES game. So we redesigned those things to make more like Odallus.
Yeah, because working within those NES constraints is like there's not a lot of colors to work with there, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
pretty difficult.
Uh-huh.
Anything else that you did? I know that like you added like one scene in particular I remember was like my favorite scene with the hover bike and the polar bear, which is like
Ah,
the greatest action scene in a video game ever. By the way, yeah, added that got a background added. Any other cool things like that get thrown in?
Oh yeah, I think the final scene we also added backdrop because during the development of Oniken, me and Pedro, we were doing the artwork and we're like, oh man, we cannot do anything else. We were like tired and we had to work with other stuff. So it's just like a black background. And now I could really like digging into it and okay, I will make a really great background. I'm going to put a lot of details and stuff like that. I think the hover bike stage in stage two. Do you remember that stage? It's the second stage of Oniken, second mission.
Hmm.
We added like a cloud scrolling with parallax effect and stuff like that. There's a lot of small details in the graphics and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's definitely worth going back and playing Oniken again if you haven't. I believe on Steam, if you already own the game, you get the Unstoppable edition, correct?
Yeah. It's a free update of Oniken.
Yeah, so definitely like go check out Oniken again. Like if you didn't get sick of it the first time, that I wouldn't shut up about it. Definitely go give that game another look, because there's definitely been some really cool things kind of retrofitted and added to it to kind of in light of Odallus. So
Yeah.
thinking about that. Do you think like Odallus will ever need any kind of update like that, or do you think that game kind of came out the way that you all wanted it to, really?
I think Oniken being the first game in JoyMasher and our first on IP, we still were very raw in making games as we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And now with Odallus, it's not a perfect game. We can see a lot of things that we wanted to change, but not as many as in Oniken. So I don't know, maybe sometime we need to update as much as Oniken, but we don't feel the rush that we felt with Oniken.
Yeah, Odallus received lots of small updates during the the last year. There was a lot of veteran mode and lots of small things, small graphical changes and fixes and tweaks. And because of that, I don't think that Odallus will receive a full update so soon, but maybe in the near future, I don't know.
Cool. So yeah, definitely go check out Odallus again too, because obviously they've been kind of hammering away at it over the last year that it's been out. And how did that game do for you guys? Like, it seems that press for it has been just like really positive.
Yeah, we're really surprised when we received the reviews of Odallus. Like, whoa, nice. After 2 years of development, it's nice to see that people enjoy their game.
It's crazy because many good Brazilian games came out that year.
Yeah.
And Brazil doesn't have a very big game development community, but we are we know everybody that makes game almost here in Brazil. We are a tight community. And Odallus was the game that actually had the best reviews in that whole year coming from Brazil.
Yeah, Metacritic and stuff like that.
And we got overwhelmed by this because it's a very niche game.
Yeah.
Odallus, but we know the audience is very restricted, and we felt crazy happy about that. It was amazing.
Well, I think all the praise is well deserved. It's definitely a game that I think clicked a lot with our community as well. I know a lot of people name dropped it towards when they talked to me, they were this game is pretty good, and I was like, yeah, I know. These guys make good games. They know what they're doing. But oh man, that veteran mode though, you are so mean. You're so mean.
Danilo is the worst.
Yeah. It was based on Ninja Gaiden Black. When did you play Ninja Gaiden Black?
Yes. Yeah. Love those Ninja Gaiden games.
So you know about when you're playing the harder, difficult bosses, always have help. There's some guys helping the bosses and enemies changed and stuff like that. So
yeah.
I think it was my main main research was Ninja Gaiden Black.
That's a good game to draw inspiration from. I'll say that.
Yeah, it was the main inspiration from.
Cool. So another question about Odallus comes from a community member that wanted to remain anonymous. They were curious as to the structure of the game because Odallus takes place over the course of 8 stages. There's a 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, things like that. They were curious as if the game was ever more of a Metroidvania, if the entire game were, just seamlessly connected, Or was that always a design decision to keep things in their own little compact, separate stages?
Well, at the beginning, it was like a smaller game, to be honest. It was meant to be divided by stages. Sorry, my English.
Oh, you're
It's
perfectly
pretty
fine.
gross, but yes, it was meant to be divided by stages.
Mhm.
But at the beginning, it was like 6 stages only,
Oh.
and one final stage.
You always wanted to divide in stages,
Yeah, yeah.
like
Stage structure like Demon's Crest.
Yeah.
It was the main inspiration for the game, and Demon Souls, because Demon Souls also have different stages that you can explore.
Yeah.
But it's not a Metroidvania in sense like.
Yeah, I think that structure can actually really kind of work. I know that like the more recent Shantae games have sort of adopted that as well, like turning away from the whole Metroidvania thing and going more toward just these separate smaller stages that kind of feel more tightly constructed than you can a larger world.
Yeah, I think it was better to me work like that because I could use like elements of arcade games, like the auto-scrolling sections, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you cannot do that in a Metroidvania game because you have to go back and you have to like make things work like it's a whole world. So if I could make the game like separate stages and like small worlds, I could do those stuff like the minecart section and stuff like that. That's why I choose to treat the game like a stage-based game.
Yeah, it definitely works better that way. And like you can't like keep making the player do an auto scroller like, you know,
Yeah.
if it's a big open world
Mhm.
kind of thing. So, again, glad Odallus has been such a hit for you guys. You definitely deserve it. So,
Yeah.
I would kind of like to ask you both because I know you both are big into game design. And I'd kind of like to ask you both, like, what was the first thing you got started on? Where did you learn to put games together, to code? Like, what was like the inspiration to start doing that, and like, how did you approach it?
we both had two completely different paths. So we know each other since 2003,
2003, yes.
2002 actually.
Yeah, 2002.
And Danilo is actually has a undergraduate degree on architecture,
Oh wow.
and I have one in journalism,
Mm-hmm.
which is crazy. And when I graduated in journalism, I realized that I really enjoy journalism, and I think it's a beautiful work. But I can't do that. I can't talk with a lot of new people. I can't do a lot of things the journalist needs to do, and for me, it's just too much stress. So I started reviewing everything that I love, and I realized that I love games, but I always thought it was an impossible career path here in Brazil. We never saw many Brazilian developers as we were growing up. So I decided to actually research games as an academic field. And in Brazil, there was an academic field of game design research. So I started that. I started a master degree at São Paulo University, and we lived in a very country city, very isolated from the rest of Brazil. And when I started my master, I moved to São Paulo, which is not the capital of Brazil, but is the economical capital of Brazil. Everything happens in São Paulo. And that's when I realized we had a game industry. So that was 2010. I started my master, and I also started working as a game designer in a social company, a social game company. You know that Farmville time when everybody was trying to do the next Farmville?
Oh yeah, the big like Facebook kind of thing.
Yeah, so that's when I started in a company that was a wannabe startup that just loaded to 60 employees and then collapsed to 10 and
Whoops.
nothing, yeah, and nothing ever got released.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's life and natural selection. Everything we did there sucked because it had no structure, it had no view of the market, it had no target audience. It was just amateurs trying to do a good job, and it was shitty.
Mm.
But it was a great opportunity to start understanding the field and to start knowing people that did it and to start learning how to do it. And that's how I started. As crappy as it sounds, that's where I started.
Hey, we've all got to start somewhere. And also, you spoke to journalism. And I kind of want to point our listeners to an article that you published about a week and a half ago called Building Empathy and Self-Healing, Game Development as an Awareness and Healing Tool. And
Oh,
I absolutely loved that article. And I think that that is something a lot of people overlook when they get into or look at designing games, is that games can be a very therapeutic thing. And I just kind of wanted to point people in that direction, seeing as that's kind of something that I've engaged with myself over the last month in creating something that I feel is therapeutic, and has helped me through a lot of things. So, like, seeing that article pop up, like, a week or so ago was just kind of interesting, seeing as that was something I was currently engaging in myself.
no, I'm glad you like it. That
Uh,
article was mainly about a time in my life that I was working for a big company it's not a big company in the game industry, but a big company, hardware company that was trying to make some games. And it was a very stressful time for me.
mm.
But that's me.
Yeah, that was good. How about you, Danilo? Where like how does everything start? Like how do we go from your start to like creating things like Odallus?
Well, for me, it was like I was a big fan of video games in general and old retro games. And during my college, I was in high school, yes, high school. And I started to work in small games for myself, small fan games, and trying to understand how to reproduce game mechanics in Clifton Multimedia Fusion. Do you know that engine, right?
Yeah, yes, I know Multimedia Fusion.
Yeah, yeah. During that time, I was using Multimedia Fusion to reproduce old games and try to
Especially Mega Man.
yeah, especially Mega Man games and stuff like that. And when I was already, but I never tried to make a game like a proper game. And I remember when I was in college, I was studying architecture. After I finished my college degree, I started to, okay, now I'm working in a big company, architecture company, and I have some spare time. My friend came to me, Pedro, and he was like, hey, what do you think we can do a small retro game and like post in a retro game forum and it will be free to people download. And I was like, yeah, great, let's do that. I think I can do some pixel art yet because pixel art was a big deal of my life when I was like a teenager, but I just stopped to do that. I'm sorry. And when 2012, no 2011, we have a beta version of Oniken, and Thais was already working in game industry, and she saw the beta version of Oniken, and she was like, "Holy shit! Why don't you try to sell it? Why don't you try to put it on Steam and well, let's like publish this. Let's make it like a game." And I was like, "What? Really?" She was like the bad person that tried to make me sell that game, and I was like
the devil corporate.
yeah, she was like the devil corporate person. I was like a hippie, like a hippie in a sidewalk making things like, hey, take
Making
this.
games and giving them to people for free.
It
Well,
was
sounds like that turned out well.
Yeah. Thanks to Thais, now I earned some money making games, but yeah.
Now you can pay bills.
Yeah. Now I can pay my bills.
Could pay bills and like make games and like that's it's great that those two can go hand in hand now, and you don't need like the backing of a big AAA company to do it.
Yeah.
See, do you feel that like your background in architecture like helps you with level design at all?
Well, to be honest, no.
No.
Everyone, don't worry. Maybe for like if I'm going to do a realistic game like Splinter Cell stuff, you know.
But I think it helped. It helped you to have a analytic view of flux.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Because I remember you on college, and you always started a house or a business environment doing the fluxogram of how people were going
the flux.
to flow.
Yeah.
And you still do that for games.
Yeah. I think that's right. Maybe it helps a little. Yeah.
Conceptual, at least.
Yeah. It's in conceptual way.
That's really cool. So, I know that the last time, I don't even know if you remember the last time that I interviewed you, Danilo. It was for oh, you do remember me now.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. You talked about being able to go to like weekly or bi-weekly game jams. Is that still a thing that you get to do?
Well, right now, not so much. Like, we do it at first, but now, like, we have to spend much time, a lot of times making our own games that, like.
And then it's a game jam Nazi. It's really hard to work with him in game jams because he's super productive and he doesn't want to sleep, but he's also super cranky and super awful to everybody around.
Yeah, I'm an awful person, so no one wants to make a game jam with me anymore. So.
Oh no.
I'm like, why are you sleeping? We have to finish this.
You already slept for 4 hours. That's a lot. You need to do more than that.
Yeah, that's what's happened.
So you've been working with Click Team Fusion for the most part, correct?
Yeah.
And it looks like maybe you started working with Game Maker in recent months?
Yes.
How has that transition been? Like, how do you feel like those two programs kind of like work as platforms? Like, what are you finding good and bad about having or getting to work with Game Maker now?
Well, Multimedia Fusion was easy to like make the code because you don't have to like type any line of code. Really, you just have to click and stuff and make. So it was faster to do stuff in Quick Team Fusion.
And being honest, you have been working with it for over a decade.
Yeah, a decade ago, and I like you start to use it. But now we're trying to move to Game Maker. Game Maker is a more powerful tool. We had a lot of problems with Odallus regarding to collision and stuff like that. And Game Maker, it's more stable, doesn't have these problems, and like you can export your games for game consoles like PS4, PSP, PS Vita, and stuff like that. And yeah, it's harder because you have to really write lines of code, and for people who always work it with Fusion, it's like a challenge. But I have my friend Yuri. He's making almost the entire code of Blazing Chrome, and he's like our coder right now. So it's he's helping a lot in this process.
That's awesome. And you mentioned Blazing Chrome, and I have to say,
Yeah.
if my friends know me as anything, they know me as the biggest Contra nerd ever. And when I saw you start posting GIFs of sort of like the beginnings of when you started working on this, I was very, very, very happy, Polly, let me say. What, like, other than maybe, because like when I look at this game, I kind of get Contra hardcore vibes.
Yeah.
What other kind of inspiration are you taking for Blazing Chrome?
Oh, we got some inspiration from Metal Slug because
Good.
yeah, Blazing Chrome has some vehicles. We are able to show the mech in the GIFs, but there will be like 2 more vehicles in the game. And we got some inspiration from Gunstar Heroes, like the crazy fast action speed of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And even some stuff from like other games like Mega Man X and some weapons from some shoot 'em up stuff. And there's a lot of small games into the Blazing Chrome. It's not like a proper Contra clone. There's had lots of small things in it.
So you're like taking like just kind of like a little bit of everything and throwing in.
Yeah.
It sounds like a dream project in a way where you get to throw all of your inspiration into like this one big.
Everything that I do is like a fanboy stuff. Like, oh, I like that in the game. I will put it here.
But
stuff
always
like that.
mixing a lot of games.
Yeah.
So far we've seen, I believe, 2 playable characters, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A friend of mine, you'll have to forgive his name. It's not spelled the way it sounds. His name is Boner.
Okay.
And he asks if Mavra and Doyle have any, like, fundamental gameplay differences, or are they basically the same character, but you got some different skins?
Yeah, they're basically the same character. Like in Metal Slug, when you change characters, they're just different skins. We did that to be more like easy to balance the game.
Yeah, because when you start throwing different weapon sets or something like that at a game, it's going to be way harder to balance.
Yeah, sure. And like maybe we're not sure about that yet, but we're like going to put a different class of character, and not confirmed yet.
Mm-hmm.
But
We're
thinking about making a class of melee characters.
You just beat me to my next question, because I was going to bring up that I don't know if you played Hardcore Uprising or not.
Yeah.
They had a DLC character named Sayori, and she was a sword user, and I was wondering, hey, like, if you had Jenny and Oniken, why not Zaku in Blazing Chrome?
Yeah, that was the main inspiration. Like, okay, in Oniken we have Jenny, that's like a run and gun game. She transformed the game into a run and gun. Why not in Blazing Chrome we cannot put a character that will transform Blazing Chrome in a Strider-like game? Something like that.
That would be so neat. And I have to imagine, like, trying to balance a game around that as well. Because there's one thing to have it, and then there's, like, being able to make it balanced. Like, do you have to change...
That's the harder part. So we're, like, we're still studying the idea to put this in the game. Mm-hmm. It's not, it's not... We cannot talk, like, oh, this will be in the game... But we're like really looking into it, and we hope we can do it.
That would be rad. So, I have to imagine that the idea for Blazing Chrome kind of like had to start creeping up while you were sort of finishing Odallus. But like, how far back along did you know that like Blazing Chrome would be your next game?
Oh man,
you're going to be surprised.
Okay, This is kind of funny because it was like okay, I think I'm going to make a run and gun game.
I think I'm tired of Metroidvanias. I want things that are more linear.
Yeah, it was like that. I cannot stand to make huge maps anymore. I would do like a fast-paced action arcade game. So we're like, okay, let's do like a Contra. Yeah, Contra. Okay.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Boom. Sometimes that's as simple as it needs. Like, you need a break from like something that's like, I have to imagine it's just a heavily involved project of like putting something as big as Odallus together, because like that is a game with a lot of assets, a lot of map to cover. Like, yeah.
It was lots of work to do, and I was like, I just want to make a game to have fun, you know, like. That was Blazing Chrome, a game to we can have fun making it.
That's great, and I assume you're going for that old school kind of difficulty, right?
Ah, for sure.
Absolutely, it's got to be difficult. People are gonna be disappointed if it's not.
Don't worry, he can't do anything that is not difficult.
I think that's why your games stand out. I think that they have like I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and I told him that like a lot of game designers have a very unique feel of game to them. Like, there's a unique game feel, and I think that your games have a very unique. Like, when I play a JoyMasher game, I know it's a JoyMasher game because there's just a way that like enemies behave or the way the character feels that is very uniquely you. So it's just like, I can definitely see that being the case.
Oh, thanks.
So, like, did you consider any other genre other than, like, maybe, like a run-and-gun shooty game? Like, were there any other genres that, like, maybe were kind of hanging in the background after Odallus, or was it just always, I need to make run-and-gunny, shooty, blasty game?
Every week, I think, during making Odallus, Danilo thought, next game I'm going to do that. And the next week was something entirely different. The thing is, the last months of developing Odallus were so intense and stressful to him that I think that all he wanted to do was run away. But he couldn't. So he kept to himself until finishing Odallus. And then he just got to the first idea after Odallus, and fortunately, it was a good one.
And I was even thinking about, maybe in future we can make like a first-person shooter, like a retro-style game or something like that. But right now, it's just Blazing Chrome and nothing new.
And we have a friend that is doing a first-person shooter that is retro style, so you don't have to do it anymore.
I don't have to do it anymore.
Weight off your shoulders. So that's what friends are for, to make the games that you just can't right now. So like, looking at the graphical assets and stuff for Blazing Chrome, you were going like in more of a 16-bit kind of look for this game. I have to imagine that like these assets are taking quite a bit more like work to kind of generate and put together, or do you feel that it's just kind of about the same for you?
Well, at the beginning was like hard to work with more colors because like all those years I was working with limited NES color palette and such a small like palette and stuff, and now I was like, okay, I will like make like Sega Genesis stuff, and it was hard. And right now I was really like making stuff really faster. And even making stuff like in 3D engines, like 3D Max, and exporting and painting over in like pixel art stuff and making a lot of different assets and stuff like that. So right now for me it's very comfortable, but in the beginning was a really big challenge.
So I'm pretty sure this isn't a question you'll have a definitive answer for, but I've got to ask anyway. Any idea of when we're going to see Blazing Chrome? Like, when's that bad boy out?
We're hoping for the end of 2017, right? But not sure if...
Yeah, because we are too early in the project.
Yeah.
When we started, we wanted it to be for the end of this year, but
Yeah.
honestly, I'm not sure because we still haven't completed the first stage yet.
Yeah, the first level, because we're
I
like,
think when we finish the first or the second, we can have a better estimate.
yeah. Because the problem is we're like trying to make everything work before it started to really work in the rest of the game. Like Odallus was difficult to make because I was already making levels without like making the control input setup and stuff like that. So later in the game, I had lots of trouble making those things. And now I was like, okay, we'll spend lots of time making this engineering stuff and like supporting shaders, supporting a lot of stuff, supporting resolution, supporting game controllers, so we don't have to worry about it in the end of the game.
Yeah, so you can get like all of the not fun stuff done, and then you get to do the real fun stuff.
Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah, that's
but
right.
it's a very long process of non-fun stuff, so
Yeah.
it gets kind of annoying.
Yeah, it's like very frustrating because like we already have lots of assets done and stuff like that, but we're still making like some enemy AI and stuff like that. So it's kind of frustrating because we cannot like make it the first level finish right now and publish a demo version. We have to first making everything working perfectly to then we continue to work in the game.
Yeah, you want to get your toolbox together first, and then it's easy to just come back later and pull from that toolbox anytime you need something in a
Yeah.
stage.
Uh-huh.
It's a really smart way to go about like creating a game. Definitely, you want to get your fundamentals down and all of that good stuff. So, like, yeah, you can't rush greatness, though. You can't rush greatness. That's what they always say, right? So I thought, why don't we close out with a couple of fun questions? What do you guys say?
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
What is your favorite bad video game?
Oh, I have a lot of favorite bad video games.
Oh, let's
My-
hear some of them.
My favorite definitely is Simon's Quest.
Oh, yeah, Simon's Quest. That's a good one.
I love Simon's Quest. I think it's such an underrated game. Honestly, because everybody can see the flaws. They're obvious. They're ridiculously obvious. But they do have great insights in that game.
Yeah.
And do have great evolutions. For them sakes, it's like the first Metroidvania.
Yeah, I think it's the first open world game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
No,
like
no, Zelda, but
they had
yeah.
to try new things back then. You know, you can't just like try a new thing and it be perfect your first time out.
My favorite awful game is Shaken.
Oh, Shakanda Forever. Oh
Shaken.
man,
Yeah.
that game. Ooh, that one's bad.
Yeah, and I love it. I love it. Holy shit.
Yeah, he was playing like 1 week ago.
Oh
Yeah.
wow. How do you feel about Contra Force?
Oh yeah, Contra Force is really bad. Really, it's for the first PlayStation, right?
Pardon?
It's for PlayStation Contra Force, or it's the
Contra Force is the last NES Contra they did.
Oh yeah, the one that you can choose some characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's awful, and I also love it.
You sometimes a game's so bad you have to love it. I think mine would be Sonic 2006.
Yeah, something like that. There's another game that it's bad, but I love it. It's Win Back for Nintendo 64. Do you know that one?
Oh yeah, Winback. It's like one of the
Winback,
earliest examples of cover-based third-person shooting.
Yeah, I love that game, but it's awful.
Oh yeah, it's not good.
Yeah.
Cool. And I have a friend who is a cook who would murder me if I didn't ask.
Uh-huh.
What is one piece of cuisine they should try before they die? that you guys would recommend? let's hear it. What's your favorite food? What would you suggest an American try?
We'd love to eat, so
Yeah.
don't you want to give us a restriction, a scope?
Yeah, everything.
Yeah, I know. Looking at your Twitters, you guys are always making me hungry.
Oh yeah, like I make like Brazilian style ribs, that was cow ribs.
Cow ribs.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know how it's called in English, I guess. Just
Yeah,
ribs?
maybe
I guess it would
ribs.
just be like spare ribs, probably
Yeah.
what we would call them.
Yeah.
In Brazil, we generally cook them whole, like the whole ribs of a cow.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
The
nice.
whole part that
Yeah.
we put in the fire in like the sword stuff. You guys already saw the like sword Brazilian barbecue?
Yes.
Yeah, no, so we put the ribs on that stuff and we put in the fire and I loved it. I think it's the best meat I ever went to eat.
Fantastic. Well, before we head on out of here, is there anything that you two would like to plug?
Well, like maybe you guys should stay tuned in our Twitter and Facebook account because we're always like throwing new stuff about Blazing Chrome and
We are not very active,
Yeah.
but every time we have something new, we generally post there.
generally on Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least once a week.
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess I want to thank you guys again for lending me some of your time on a Saturday, and I hope I wasn't too boring.
No. We're sorry about like we're like trying to speak. It's kind of hard for us because we're not speaking English so often. We're most like reading stuff in English. So
Yeah, or listening.
we're like rusty to speak. So that's why we sometimes we're like this is silence.
Oh,
Silence.
you've sounded absolutely fine. I've completely understood you. I'm pretty sure everybody else will understand you just fine.
So
Thanks again, you guys. I really appreciate it.
thank you.